When I was 20 years old, I spent a semester abroad studying in Paris, and I lived with a French family. Now back then I didn't think too much about diet advice or definitely fasting or anything like that, but I did find myself entering a world where people ate whatever they wanted and nobody was obese. In fact, everyone was in really good shape and they seemed happy. So this really struck a chord with me, and so many years later, I wrote about it in my first book, Lessons from Madame Chic. So in today's video, I'm going to unravel the French paradox and share the diet and exercise tips I learned while living in Paris, because the tips are completely timeless. Hello everyone, Jennifer L. Scott here, and welcome back to the Daily Connoisseur. We live in an age of information at our fingertips, and I do believe that that could be good or bad. If you're talking about health advice, for example, you can go on YouTube and you can find a video about everything. Let's talk about diets. You can find videos about carnivore. You could find videos about being a raw vegan. You can find videos on keto, paleo, intermittent fasting. You can find all sorts of videos, and I love reading the comments on these videos. And I noticed something, that in the comment section of each video, there will be testimonials of people who this diet absolutely worked for. But you do notice that in every video. So it's like if you go to a keto video, someone will say this is the only way. And if you go to a carnivore video, you'll see the same thing. If you go to a raw vegan video, you'll see the same thing. So what's true if they're all the only way, right? This can be completely overwhelming, and it might cause you to tell yourself that certain foods are bad for you to eat. And I think that's where it becomes destructive. I remember watching one of the carnivore videos, and one of the comments was somebody who said that they quit doing carnivore when they had an apple and felt guilty about eating it. And they realized that they had gone too far in thinking that they couldn't eat anything else except for meat. Now, as an aside, I am not criticizing any diet, okay? So if you do any of these diets, I'm not criticizing you, and I'm not saying that it's bad. But I am saying that the people who find themselves doing it and not satisfied because they feel such a deprivation, or they found that their thinking has changed so much, like to the point where they can't even enjoy an apple. These are the people that I'm talking to, because in Paris, we ate whatever we wanted, okay? Not only me, but the French people around me, and they all were in great shape. And more importantly, they were happy with their food. That's like a big part of it, which we're gonna talk about in just a second. So what did I eat while I was living in Paris? I ate exactly what my French family ate because they fed me. And so we all ate the same thing. So for breakfast, I would often have a large piece of toasted baguette with butter and homemade jam. I would also have things like yogurt and fruit. I would often have a slice of a fruit tart that we had had for dessert the night before. So not like your typical healthy breakfast. Like if you go online today, I don't know if anybody would recommend a breakfast like that. And I've definitely gone the way of the healthier breakfast, quote unquote, because I watch those videos and I think, oh, you know, whole fat yogurt is better for me with pumpkin seeds and, you know, whatever else. So I just want to point out that I was not eating like a typically healthy breakfast. Okay, then for lunch, I was on my own because I was there for university, so I would eat out. But typically I'd have like a jambon sandwich or some kind of like cheap carby lunch because I was buying it for myself. And then in the evening, we would have dinner with the family, and Madame Chic was an amazing cook. We usually had at least a 3-course dinner. It would be some kind of protein, some vegetables, usually served with a rich sauce, often heavy cream, butter, you know, French food. It was really rich. We would end with a cheese course always. So Monsieur Chic loved camembert. He called it the roi du fromage, the king of all cheeses. So we'd have camembert, Roquefort, brie. We'd have nice cheeses, and then several times a week we would have a dessert. And dessert would be a homemade fruit tart, or we would have ice cream, or, you know, some kind of dessert. Sometimes it would be a fruit salad with Grand Marnier and sugar in it. So we ate really well, and yet nobody was overweight. I did not gain weight while I was living there, and everyone was happy with what they ate. There was no guilt about the food that we were eating. I hope you're enjoying the video so far. This video is not sponsored, but I wanted to quickly share a product with you that I've been wanting to put in a video, but I haven't done a health-related video in a while, and it is the Body Pod. So many of you know that I love the FitTrack Smart Scale. This is their new product. It's actually been out for a while, and I've been using it for a while, but just now sharing it with you. But the Body Pod has this pull-up handle, and this scale uses 8 frequency sensors to deliver precise weight, full body composition, and heart health. In the handle, you're able to scan your torso, arms, legs, and even heart at an accuracy of 98%. So all of this information is stored on the app, and you're able to track your health metrics, which is important. It's like no matter what diet or lifestyle you decide to use, you do need to know your metrics, like how are you doing? And then you can make adjustments if necessary. So I really love it, and I'm gonna leave it linked down below. And now back to the video. Okay, so these are the 6 major observations I had with regard to my French family and the French people that I knew. The first major observation that I had were that the Parisians enjoyed their food. Truly enjoyed it. There was no guilt. When you are in America, you will often notice that if you eat something really decadent or rich or full of sugar or things that are traditionally seen as bad for you, they'll talk about how guilty they feel eating it, what they need to do to work it off. You never heard that in France. You never. It just would have been, first of all, I didn't even go to the gym, the people I lived with, but you just never would hear them speak about food that way. It was all positive. So if you did hear them speak about food, it would only be extolling the positive attributes of the food. So they would say like, oh, this sauce is delicious. How did you make it? Or what's the secret ingredient? Or, oh, I love how the lemon zest really adds a zing to this cream sauce. You know, they weren't criticizing the food or putting themselves down or giving them a to-do list at the gym the next day. The attitude around food was very positive, and I really think that that played a huge part in why they were able to enjoy their food and stay slim eating the food that they like to eat. The second thing I noticed was that they did not binge eat or overeat. So sometimes over here you might see someone, let's say, enjoying a scoop of ice cream, and it's so good that they just get the whole carton and they eat it. You know, we have like lots of memes about that. Or, you know, people who just think, oh, well, I mean, if I'm gonna eat this slice of cake, I might as well have 3 more. Or I feel like we've all done this with cookies. I have definitely done this, where you have a cookie and they're so good that you have like 5 more cookies, okay? So I did not see that. Food was enjoyed in moderation. They would have 1 cookie or 1 little scoop of ice cream. They did not really have seconds. You wouldn't see someone going back for more for a dessert or even dinner. So they ate things in moderation, and they did not binge eat or overeat. The third one is huge, and I even have an entire chapter devoted to it called Snacking is So Not Chic. So another thing I observed was that they did not snack. They just did not do it. In between meals, the kitchen was closed. It would have been shocking for me to see any member of their family walking around the house with a bag of chips. I think I would like wonder what was going on if that happened. I just didn't see it. The kitchen was closed. I have stories in the book about how I discovered this very early on, but if you were not having a meal, you were not eating. And so that has so many benefits to it, but it made you actually hungry for the meals when they came. So I know that in other places around the world, the kitchen is just always open and you can snack all day long. This is why I have found intermittent fasting valuable for me, because it closed the kitchen after dinner and there was no more snacking. So to segue a little bit, when you find something that helps you get back to these healthy habits, I think that it's great. And that's why I love a moderate form of fasting. But snacking just didn't happen. And I think that was a huge contribution to why they all stayed slim. The fourth thing I noticed about the Parisians was that they were not opposed to having treats. Whether it is a dessert or maybe for tea time they had a chocolate croissant or something like that, they allowed this for themselves. And as a dual point to this, they did not allow the treat to rule their lives. Like, I can guarantee that they were not just chomping at the bit until the next time they could have a slice of cake. Or it wasn't like on the forefront of their mind, like the next time they were going to be able to eat this, that, or the other. It just simply happened. It was not this forbidden fruit that they barely had and that they needed to have. It was just normal, like a part of everyday life, having a treat. And so it wasn't elevated to this status of, oh, this is going to be so good and I'm going to use my calories to have this. It wasn't like that. It was just nothing. I mean, it was just dessert, and they had it and they didn't binge on it. The fifth thing on my list here was that they sat down in community for their meals. So they lived a very formal way of life, and I have lots of chapters on this in my Madame Chic books as well, about how they lived what we would consider a pretty formal lifestyle. And we would sit down for dinner every evening, and we had a formal, at least 3-course dinner where they observed proper formal table manners. And some people might think that sounds awful. Like, why would I want to live such a stuffy life? But it wasn't stuffy. It was great. It's like it provided a structure and a dignity to our meals. And so you didn't see them eating food over the kitchen sink or walking around eating out of a bag or eating informally even in front of the television. You just didn't see it. So I think that sitting in community down to a beautifully set table where you're talking to people, making it a social thing, a ritual where you employ your best table manners and you really eat in a dignified manner, I think that this helps as far as keeping your weight in check, because you're more conscious of what you're eating. You're not walking around unconsciously putting food into your mouth while you're doing other things. And one of the final points I wanted to share, and I know that these are very general, so again, read the books for more detail, was that they combined all of this with an active lifestyle. So when I lived in Paris, I walked so much, more than I ever have in my entire life. Now, granted, the city is set up for it, and I can't really walk that much here, in California, but I can translate that to my life here. So I love going on walks, and I'll try to go on at least 4 or 5 long walks a week. You could translate that to whatever you love to do. Maybe you love to go hiking, or you like to walk your dog, or you like to do another exercise, but you incorporate an active lifestyle so that you're not so sedentary. And I think the combination of all of those things allowed the French people that I knew to eat what they wanted and to enjoy it. I would love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Let me know your own personal stories. If you have any experiences with any of these things that I'm talking about, I would love to hear from you down below. Thanks for watching, everyone. Keep calm and remain classy, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.